Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to the BlackUSA.News Morning Show. My name's Donnie Glover, and I will be your host. Today joining us is Pegues, and we will be talking about menthols, flavored tobacco, and what's happening here in the state of Maryland in the Maryland General Assembly. Good morning, Mr. Pegues.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I gotta ask you, one of my favorite newscasters is Jeff Pegues. Do you know him? You familiar with him?
Yeah, we loosely related. You know, it's funny because he says Pegues and it's Pegues. And he actually was born overseas, like in Paris. His father was in the military or something, and he put a little French twist on his name. It's funny. Everywhere I go, people go, "It's Pegues." I go, "No, it's Pegues."
All right, well, we're gonna get that straight this time. And the next time I see him, I'm gonna correct him. Although he certainly doesn't need my validation. I see there's a book behind you, Once a Cop. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's a best-selling, 2-time award-winning book right there. That's a book about my life. It's a memoir detailing my life of struggle growing up, being a drug dealer, working for the most notorious drug gang in America at the time, the Supreme Team, navigating my way out. Going into the military, becoming a police officer, being one of the top executives in the NYPD. Along the way, getting my bachelor's, my master's, going to Columbia University, being a professor at 2 different colleges. So it's detailing a whole lot of stuff in my life. And actually, it's a nice picture of me and the first Black president of the United States, Barack Obama. So I made it. I made it from the streets to the White House, baby. We made it.
East New York?
Yeah, I'm from Queens, New York. I'm from Queens, New York. East New York is in Brooklyn.
That's only Brooklyn. See, you educate me. I still have a lot to learn.
It's all the same. It's all the same. Just zip codes change. That's it.
Do you know I can get around New York City better than I can, say, the suburbs of Baltimore?
Of course you can. We have mass transit, we got buses, we got trains, we got Ubers, we got taxi cabs, we got everything. It's easy to move around in New York City. People don't realize that. So, you know, I live in the suburb of Long Island, where it's very difficult to get. If you don't have a car, you kind of start, like the buses stop running at like 7 o'clock sometimes earlier than that. So suburban life is a lot different from the city life.
Yeah, we have some neighborhoods here in Baltimore. It's no transportation, and there's a that they that's my thought. You know, no transportation, keep you out. Don't bring your black self over here. But anyway,
when y'all moving,
there's an issue.
When y'all gonna move that? When y'all gonna fix up that community where that Black Wax Museum is, man? I'm scared to go over there. When I pulled up in my car to get out, I was like, man, we gonna make it to the corner?
At night, I would imagine it can be scary. My first memories are from that part of town, Baltimore. That's a great question. You know, we have a wealth of Black elected officials, but we haven't been able to parlay that political power into economic development. Yeah, makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It's a great city.
And I gotta ask you about that.
It's a great city. I love Baltimore. Every time I come there, man, I love it. But, you know, there's sections over there that really look like The Wire. It's like, come on, man. We need to fix this up now. Let's go. And the whole Black ran government.
They're waiting on us to leave. That's what we see in Baltimore. When, you know, if you want to get an area fixed up, what you will find is some urban or Black removal first. That's just my take on it.
Right. Yeah, well, you know, that happens all over. It's in Brooklyn. Gentrification is alive and well. Some of the most violent areas in Brooklyn. It was funny because I was a lieutenant in Harlem, right? It was very violent there. You go there now, you see like old white ladies walking poodles at 2 in the morning, and I'm like, what happened? What happened here? You know, when I was working there, man, it was a very violent place. But, you know, I don't know. You know, that's a whole nother show for us.
I saw I saw a white lady jogging through Harlem, and I was like, wow. And a Starbucks and a Whole Foods.
Oh yeah, you know, once Starbucks come, you know it's over. Gentrification. When you get Starbucks, that's the beginning. You know, like we good now. Don't sell your house because the property value getting ready to go through the roof.
I may have one better than that. When you get bike lanes.
Bike lanes, exactly.
That nobody's in.
Nobody's in. Bloomberg messed New York City up with them damn bike lanes, man. He tore the city up with them bike lanes.
Okay, so here in the state of Maryland, there's an issue before the Maryland General Assembly. Interestingly, I talked briefly this morning with Senator Antonio Hayes about a ban on menthol cigarettes. And of course, we know 85% of the menthols are smoked by people of color, as well as flavored tobacco. Can you explain this whole dichotomy to me? What's going on?
Yeah, thanks. So what happens is there's a push around America to ban menthol cigarettes. For the people that really don't know what menthol cigarette is, for the black and brown community, I could tell a Newport cigarette is the menthol cigarette. Newport, Cools, Camels, you know, these are Newport filtered cigarettes. And what happened is during the Trump administration, the FDA, they was looking to ban all these flavors. They really got caught up in the hookah thing, you know, with the kids trying to get rid of the flavors. And somebody had the grandiose idea to say, hey, well, let's throw menthol in there. Let's throw menthol in it because it has like a little taste, supposedly like a fruity taste, right? And it hides the, you know, the tobacco. And it's addictive. This is what they're saying. But we've, you know, I'm with a group and we've looked at numerous studies. If you look at smoking, cessation has gone down over the last 30 years. It's gone down over like 30%. And it didn't go down by banning anything. You know how it went down? Education, counseling, and treatment. That's the only way you can end something. Because what we're concerned about is if you ban menthol cigarettes, it's almost going to be like the Prohibition era. When they banned alcohol, you had a war around America. And I could promise you, you ban menthol cigarettes, just for instance, in New York State, right? New York State, 50% of the cigarettes sold in New York State is already illegal. They're illegal. So they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue. So there's so many dichotomies, you know, to this whole thing. Tax revenue, you're talking about health. Most people are pushing it's a health issue. Well, I say this, my position is this. You think you got a health issue now with people smoking? Try doing a full all-out ban, and you're going to have Joey in his basement making up cigarettes, selling them on the corner. You're not going to know what the hell he's selling, you know, and then this underground is going to open because all people are going to do is go down to Virginia, go down the 95 pipeline, get cartons of cigarette and bring them up the pipeline and start selling them. And now the Bloods, the Crips, the Nietas, the MS-13s, no longer they're going to be, why would you sell cocaine or crack and get 15, 20-year sentence when you could sell cartons of cigarettes and only get a $200 fine? I probably myself would go into the selling illegal cigarette business because it's going to be very lucrative for people, and it's not a lot of it's not going to be a felony. It's not going to be a felony. So it's just going to be a violation. And then we have this other piece, which is the most important piece. Who is going to enforce the ban? They're all saying around the country that the police are not going to enforce the ban. Well, let me tell you this. I'll give you a few incidents where cigarettes were involved. Eric Garner.
First thing comes to my mind, especially with a New York former police officer on here, the chokehold, Staten Island.
First, all right, Sandra Bland. She didn't get stopped for the cigarette, but remember, she was smoking a cigarette. When the cop wrote the ticket, he came to her, said, put the cigarette out. She was like, I'm not putting the cigarette out. Why should I put my cigarette out? Just, it was a cigarette involved, okay? Next, George Floyd. George Floyd went in there with a counterfeit bill, supposedly, to buy some cigarettes. So the cigarette issue, it's already a problem in America. It's already a problem dealing with the black and brown communities. So now, with criminal justice reform going on all over the country, everybody talking about bridging the gap between the black and brown community, we're saying, why would you ban something and give cops more contact with people? We're trying to get police to have less contacts in our communities, but you're going to make a ban And now who's going to enforce it? They're saying it's going to be somebody else, but it's going to always end up being a cop. The cop is going to now say, hey, Newport's a ban. So now this young black or brown kid is walking down the street smoking a cigarette. Is going to give the cop the reasonable suspicion to stop him. Say, hey, what you smoking? What are you smoking? And then that just leads to, disorderly conduct, all these other little and one charges that we give, obstructing governmental administration, like all of these contexts, unnecessary conversation. We don't want kids. I don't want, as a 25-year veteran, maybe 28, 29 years in policing, I don't want no contacts with the community and the black and brown community unless it's necessary. And doing this ban is going to open up a floodgate. And by the way, think about this, Mr. Glover. If I'm 21 years old and I decide to smoke cigarettes, who are you to tell me not to smoke cigarettes? Yesterday, New York State just announced they're getting ready to legalize marijuana. So you know what the dilemma here in New York? Because the ban, they're looking to do the menthol ban in New York too. But now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're legalizing marijuana. So you're telling me my 21-year-old can smoke marijuana, but my 80-year-old grandmother who's been smoking Newports for 65 years can't smoke. It doesn't even make sense on the grand scheme. When you look at it on the grand scale, does that even make sense? We're legalizing marijuana, but we want to ban menthol. It doesn't make sense. Of course it's racist. Why would you want to ban something that affects one segment of the community? Like you said, 85 to 90% people, black and brown, choice of smoking is menthol cigarette. So there's a lot. And I totally understand the people that's saying, let's ban it. I'm for it. I don't smoke. You want to ban cigarettes? Get rid of the tobacco industry. Let's get rid of them. I don't care. I don't smoke cigarettes. And we know that, lung cancer, this, that, and the other. But why are you only affecting these people? It's like people that don't smoke menthol cigarettes don't have cancer. They don't get lung disease. Like, come on. All the studies have shown, even in Massachusetts, right? They just did a big ban in Massachusetts, and they're having a lot of problems because everybody's going across to the adjoining counties or states to get cigarettes. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get that money back. You're not getting the money back. You're not getting the money back. And we talk about legalizing marijuana. Look at all the revenue that they're getting, and they're regulating it. Well, the tobacco industry is already regulated. Remember when we was growing up, you used to see all these commercials about smoke this, smoke that, smoke that. When the last time you saw a commercial? Yes. The tobacco industry has changed. Laws have been put in place, like they can't, advertise in these schools. Remember, you used to get the Jet magazines and all of that. It's boom, it's right there. They're not doing this advertising anymore. They're not running commercials. There used to be the cool jazz fest. That has stopped. There's so many stringent laws and rules where the tobacco industry can't even advertise like they used to. And we look at the studies, we just see a study of young people smoking cigarettes, black and white smoking on the same level. They're smoking on the same level. And the choice for the black kids is menthol and the non-menthol for the non-minority people, but the smoking is still the same. It hasn't gone up. It hasn't gone up. And no one can show any study that cigarette smoking has gone up or a ban. And all you got to do is look at Massachusetts, a ban in Massachusetts. They looked at it. Smoking has not gone down, and the underground market has gone up. Illegal cigarettes are being sold all over Massachusetts at this time.
Are there any other states experiencing the ban?
Yes, they did it in LA. At LA, they did it. There's about 6 or 7 states that they have the menthol ban. But some of those states don't incorporate a heavy minority community. So it's kind of easy. If you don't have a big minority community, you can get the ban. But we're looking at these major cities like New York, New York, California. Like California, if they get it. So what's happening is like small municipalities are doing the ban. So like LA County, it was able to get the ban out there, but it's not the whole state. But the state is looking at it. So there's a lot of it's hot and heavy right now, but we have to look at the unintended consequences. And we're going to talk about that till I'm blue in the face. The unintended consequences is you're going to have more contacts with Black and brown community, where we're trying to lessen contacts with the Black and brown community. And we had a meeting with the New York City Police Department, the biggest police department in the country. They don't want anything to do with it. They're not on board. They don't want anything because they got better things to do, like rape, robbery, shootings, stolen cars, burglaries. They don't want waste energy and resources on stopping somebody that has a menthol cigarette. It doesn't even make sense. Police departments around the country is not on board with it.
So you have two phenomenal, or at least well-publicized Black men running for the mayor of New York, Eric B. Adams from Brooklyn, and then also, who's the other gentleman, the Wall Street guy?
McGuire.
Ray McGuire. Has the issue of banning menthols come up with either one of those candidates' responses?
Well, I can speak for Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams.
I guess that's the candidate.
Listen, I don't get into politics, but we did have a conversation about the ban. He understands. He's Black. He's been in law enforcement. I don't know if you know, he retired as a captain in the NYPD. So he understands the unintentional consequences. And he's also, and I can't speak for him, but he's bewildered by, like, why would they want to ban one segment of a community and not everything else? So basically they're saying that, hey, everything else you can smoke is fine. There's not going to be any health issues. There's not going to be anything. But they're trying to, they're trying to pitch this as they're trying to help the Black community. And the Black community is saying, hey, we want help. So if people are smoking, again, there's three ways you can fix it. You want to spend your money.
Counseling, treatment.
That's it. That's how you help them, not banning them, because once you ban them, it's going to go underground. I promise you it's going to go underground because it's happening already. Or they're going to go to Indian reservations where, there's no rules and regulations. And the Indian reservations are going to be selling cigarettes to everybody. And they're going to come off and start selling them in the streets. It's something that is really, really serious when you think about doing this. It's going to be turf war. I believe it's going to be gang turf war. I only can speak on my experience. I know that if they do a ban in New York City, the underground market is going to explode. And they think that
Black people make up, what, 25% of New York City's population?
Right. When you talk about minorities, New York City is like 52% minority. So you're talking about like about 25% Black, then you throw in Asians, Latinos, East Indian, Yeah, so we are the majority in the city, and heavily democratic state, of course. But most people you speak to don't know about this. So we've been going around speaking to, like, I just spoke to the Pastors Association in Maryland, in Baltimore. We just gave a presentation with them. The great Dr. Ben Chavis, who you do know, Dr. Ben Chavis. I work very closely with him. He's a staunch advocate about not having this ban in our community. This is a man that walked with Dr. Martin Luther King, spent 7 years in prison fighting for civil rights for Black and brown people. And he's well versed. Actually, I speak to him at least once a week, either via Zoom or whatever. He's a very
national newspaper publisher.
Yeah, he's the president of the Black National Newspaper Publication, which is over like 250 newspapers around the country. So we have some real prominent people in it, but the politicians are the ones that has to really, really step out in front on this. If they really care about their community, the ban is not going to work. You have to just look at the numbers. Like, the numbers don't lie. Smoking has gone down. And it wasn't because of a ban. It has gone down. I think people are smoking less now than ever before. I was just watching a movie last night. I forgot what it was. Something about Malcolm X on Netflix. And it was in the Audubon room, where he got murdered. And you could see people smoking cigarettes in the Audubon room. Like, you would never see that today. Like, times have changed. Everybody's well versed. As a matter of fact, most young people who I know would prefer to smoke marijuana than smoke a Newport cigarette. So The smoking has gone down. The times have changed. But if you're really looking to help the Black and brown community stop smoking, the ban is not going to stop it. We tried that with alcohol. It's not going to stop people from making alcohol. It's going to be the same thing with cigarettes.
So do you think there's an insidious effort underway just to further criminalize the Black community? Do you think that's at the bottom of it, that it's just about criminalizing, giving the right wing, the cousins of the terrorists, the domestic terrorists, to give them more license to lock up Black people?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, being in law enforcement for so many years and being an executive, and more importantly, being a Black man in America, anything that's targeting the Black and brown community, I think it's a conservative effort and somebody thought about it. You can't tell me that they just popped up in the middle of the night and said, oh, let's just ban menthol cigarettes. And it was under, which I believe, a very racist regime. It was under the Trump regime. So I definitely think there was a concerted effort to poke the bear, and the bear being a Black and brown community.
I got to ask you this. When you saw the domestic terrorists scaling the wall of the U.S. Capitol, and I got to ask you, because you of course had 9/11 you've had to deal with, and other terrorist outbreaks there in New York City. What did you think when you first saw it?
Well, the first thing I thought when I saw it was like everybody else, this is very sad. It's a sad situation. But the second piece was, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all, because all you got to do is just go to July 2020, when we had the Black Lives Matter protests out in DC. They had MP5, machine guns, tanks, National Guard. Everybody was activated. It was like, yo, we're not going to let these Negroes take over our precious capital. It didn't take a rocket science to figure out that these crazy poor boys and all of them was coming down there. It was all on internet. So now the FBI, CIA, nobody's looking at the internet now. They were out front with it, but it was because of the leadership that they have. I'm just thankful for God. We got a president that's actually compassionate now. And even if he's not good, he looks like he's being good. Okay. You had somebody that I believe had a hood in the White House. He had a hood in the closet somewhere. He didn't care about Black and brown people, and he didn't care about that Capitol if it went down. For the life of me, I can't believe how these conservatives just don't get it. And from gun control, in the last 2 weeks, we got 10 people killed. Why somebody running around the streets with an assault weapon in America? This is not Iraq or Iran, Afghanistan. We're not at war. Why would somebody need a machine gun to protect their home? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. But until we put people in place that have our agenda, it's just going to be the same thing over and over.
That's a very challenging thing. We see it here in Baltimore. I really wish I've met Mr. Council Borough President Adams before we did our Black Wall Street Awards right there in Brooklyn Borough Hall.
Right.
And we also hung out with him in Harlem with the some of the Black Harlem businesses. So I certainly wish the best for him. It was wonderful to see someone who has been at the top, but still knows how to walk down 125th Street, 116th Street.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta ask you, as this country is changing, can Black elected officials do much at all? Are you optimistic?
So I'm very optimistic. I'm gonna tell you why. It's one thing that our former president did. I didn't like anything he did, but he did this one thing that I think every politician, every community should adapt. You remember he was running for president, and the conservatives made him give them a list of 25 judges who he would appoint. I thought it was the most ingenious idea ever. And he stuck to that. This is the list. These are the 25 people we're going to choose from. And they said, we got your back. You're going to be the president of the United States. And they made it happen. So they locked him in. And this is what I think we should be doing, because politics is on a local level. It's not like the White House don't really affect us too much. It's all about your local level. Like in this town that I live in, I know the police commission, I go to the school board meetings, I go to the sanitation meet. Like if you're not involved in your community, it's going to stay the same, or it's going to be out of your hands to help. So I'm saying all of that to say what? when he did that, I was like, wow, that was crazy. So then, like, Eric Adams is running for mayor. He should be locked into, give me the top 3 names of police commissioner. Who's going to be your police commissioner? Give me the 3 names. You don't want to lock them into one. Give them choice. Give me those 3 names. So now, as community, you got an educated vote. Say, oh, okay, I like this guy Glover. I don't really like this guy Pegues, but this guy White. So any out of those 3, I'm good with whoever he picks. Who's going to be your school chancellor? Who's going to be the head of sanitation? Who's going to run your counterterrorism? Like, this is where politics has to go right now. If you really want to change your community where you are, you got to lock these politicians in. And when you lock them in, especially you in communities such as like Baltimore, New York City, it's mostly Black and brown people in charge. Lock them right in and tell them this is what we want, because the community has to have a say, not just a vote. You got to have a say. It's not just about a vote, but your vote can be a say.
What we found is that Black people have so many other in-your-face issues before they can even get to the poll, or once they get to the poll, it's just pull some big. But we think that the entirety of the electoral process is just pushing that level of filling in that circle. That's it. I voted for him. I voted for him.
It's a lot. It's a lot more than that. Like I just told you, like you have to be an educated vote. Obviously, me, you and I are involved in the political spectrum. Think about it. 85% of people go to the poll. They vote on name recognition. And this is why I'm telling you, Eric is going to be the mayor of New York. I'm telling you, because of name recognition. Think about this. McGuire, he just popped out of he just fell into this like last year. Nobody even know who he is. Nobody knows his name. I don't care how much money he spent on commercials. 85% of people ain't even looking at these commercials. So when they go to the polls, they're gonna say, "Oh, Eric Adams. Oh, that's the guy that didn't like the police since the 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement." Or he was people vote on name recognition. I'm telling you, that. We do know that. If you're not educated, you know how. So we had my mayoral election here where I live 2 weeks ago. About 15 people was like, "Yo, Corey, who we voting for?" They live in the same town, don't have a clue, but they know Tuesday we had to vote, so they calling me, "Yo, who we voting for?" And that's exactly how it goes in the voting system. So good luck to the McGuires and the Andrew Yang, who just popped into New York City and through his name and that. But the only one on that ballot that got name recognition and 30 years of public service is our future mayor, Eric Adams.
So my friends told me I had to get on Clubhouse. So I go get this iPhone, blah, 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 get in there. And it was a Saturday night. This is what, March, so say January. Saturday night, they had Ray McGuire on there. They had Gayle King as a guest, MC Hammer, and one other, Van Jones. And they were pumping Ray McGuire, and the number of people in the room, the numbers were up, it was really trending and all.
Right.
And I said to myself, you could tell that the people who organized it were upwardly mobile Black people. They may party in a different network than I party in.
Right.
I'm gonna try to find out where you going. But some people aren't going to those places. They, Well, anyway, it was amazing to see outsiders give credibility to this guy Ray. And it just made me want to reach out to Borough President Adams even more, like, dude, what can I do even here in Baltimore to help you? Because we got these off-brands, with all due respect, but people from outside of New York telling New Yorkers or suggesting who New Yorkers should vote for. I can't tell you who to vote for.
Right.
I won't do that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I can say it. I can vote. I have a 25-year relationship with the future mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. He's been on the front line for a long time. He put his career on the line to help Black and brown people. I've walked in the streets with him on shootings, giving out turkeys, Christmas, kissing old ladies, walking babies across the street. All of that good stuff. But more importantly, he has a good heart. he's a good heart. He grew up in the projects in Queens, moved out to Brooklyn. He's a good man. I know him, and I know him very well, like a brother. Ray McGuire is so low on the totem pole to him as far as a challenge. He's not worried about him. He's so focused on Adams being the mayor. All that outside noise is not bothering him. He's just trugging along. And we will see at the end of the line. But what some of the outsiders don't know is Eric Adams ran for office 3 times. And every time he ran unopposed. What I'm saying is, once Eric put his name in the hat, the other people running said, I don't have a chance in hell. Let me fall out. And they fell out.
And he's put in work. He's put in work. Even from my perch here in Baltimore, I have seen him in the streets of New York with my own eyes.
Oh, yeah. You can't satisfy everybody, make everybody happy, but the overwhelming majority of people are going to vote for him, and he's going to be the next mayor of the city of New York. It's going to be a great, great time in New York City because he's going to do the right thing, not the white thing.
Mr. Pegues, tell me about the struggles of a Black police officer. I know when Freddie Gray happened here in Baltimore, all cops got demonized. Now, some of my friends on the force pulled me to the side and enlightened me to some information the general public did not know. And what I've concluded, it only reiterated what I always knew, is that as Black officers, you get it from your own people, but then you get it from oftentimes those cats who left their hoods in their lockers. You're working beside racists in a relatively racist system. How is that?
Well, I tell you this, some of that stuff is true. So you see that book behind me. Anybody wants to know about how it is to be a Black cop should order that book. Once a Cop, The Street, the Law, 2 Worlds, 1 Man. I even did an audio version on it. So most Black cops, you're coming into, it's a racist culture. Policing, the criminal justice system is a racist culture. We focus on policing. It started with slave patrol. So off the back, it started with slave patrol. Okay, so you're talking about generationally, Black cops are so far back because like in the when I came on in 92, I had an Irish partner. His father was on the job. He was a 40-year homicide detective. His grandfather came. So his father came on in like the 50s or 60s. His grandfather came on like the 30s. And Brian would come to work and tell me, yo, my father said this is how we do. I'd be like, Brian, shut up. We don't do that no more. This is 1992. We don't do things like that anymore. So they're getting generational advice from, people that's basically racist. That's just what it is. And let me tell you something that's going to resonate with your audience. And I say this I just said this on Court TV. It's the only profession in America that you could go in, not be racist, and leave racist. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of white cops. They come in, they're not racist. But when they get into the police department, they're told, treat those people like this, treat those people like that. And then they start developing this mindset like, yo, I hate Black people. And then you get the Black person that come on. He's not a racist. He just wants to go on and get along. And because of the way he sees white counterparts treat his Black people, he started hating white people. It's crazy, but it's one of the professions that can have you turn into a racist as soon as you get there. And I'm talking about warp speed, like 4 weeks. If that even might be too long. Like immediately because of the racist system that it is, you will start being a racist. And as far as Black cops, obviously I'm Black. You have to stand for something or die for nothing. I always stood on my laurels from day one. I have a story in the book. One of my first arrests, I arrested a young Black kid. I didn't have a car, so I had to call a car. 2 white guys came. He was sitting on the sidewalk. I had him handcuffed. I was writing in my book. All of a sudden, I hear him screaming, yeah, they was beating him up. I'm like, yo, I thought he was Houdini. I thought he got out of his handcuffs. But no, I guess he said something to them. They started kicking him. So I ran in there, broke it up, got the sergeant to the scene. I said, listen, man, now you're talking about with like a year and a half on the job. Like you can't even like take a stand. But I took his stand immediately in that situation. And so from there, they was like, we're not gonna play with this guy because this guy, he's not about the blue wall. I never been about the blue wall. I was always about doing what was right. And that's what it is. But most of these black cops, it disgusts me. My daughter's a cop. My nephew's a detective in NYPD, and obviously I got numerous friends, and they're all not bad. But one of the things with the black cops, you want to go in, get along with people. And I get that to a certain extent. Like, I had to do 21 years and nobody wanted to talk to me. So if you're not built for that, maybe you should go to McDonald's because they're always hiring, you know? So I was like, I don't play the black and white jokes, not even with black people. I don't want to play with, I don't do that, because once I walk out the room, I'm gonna be the joke. So I was so focused on, listen, we got to do things the right way. If it's not being right, I don't want no parts of it. I didn't hang out with cops afterwards because, you know, cops, drinking, guns, then white guys want to throw a black joke and there's going to be a fight in that club with me. So I didn't do that, you know. So you got to really take a stand. If you're not really taking a stand, then the community looks and says, why these black? That's why the community is saying, why these black? Because to me, it's not rocket science. It's very simple. If somebody's doing something, you need to interject immediately. And if you're not, it's a paintbrush, because it's the only profession. Like, if I kill somebody here in New York City, a cop in Boise, Idaho is going to have to deal with that killing. Doctors kill people every day. While me and you talking, Mr. Glover, in emergency rooms right now, doctors are killing people, because, you know, it's not real doctors doing those surgeries. It's the one, what you call them, the ones, they in school, but they come into the emergency room. You know, I forgot what they call them.
Students.
Right. They're killing people every day, but nobody they don't hate doctors. But if one cop, you have one George Floyd incident, that's the whole country hate cops. It's amazing. That's why it's so important and imperative that the psychological evaluations are good, that you really vet these people out. But I do think, like, maybe in about 10 years, things is going to change, because that 13-year-old right now that's on this thing, spitting all his KKK venom and all of this stuff, now he or she's going to be vetted because of this. This has changed the game, not only to bring crime down, but to also vet these people as they coming in now, because now you got an electric mark that can never be removed on this computer. And so they're going to say, when you apply for the job, they're going to, oh no, when you was 15, you were saying all these racist things, you got to go.
Do you foresee a national registry for racist cops?
Well, I foresee a national registry for bad cops. And okay. I'll be that racist. If racist it isn't it, it's racist, but I'm talking about rogue officers, you know, officers that have been terminated from another police department and getting hired again because there's no checks and balances. You got to have this national registry. But, you know, the George Floyd Act is up for the Senate to vote on, and there's a whole bunch of things with the George Floyd Act.
What is it?
The George Floyd Act is basically a bunch of changes in, you know, criminal justice system, from, you know, no chokehold to national registry. There's a whole bunch of stuff in it. And hopefully that they could push it through. They could push it through. We got two important things that Democrats got to really decide what they want to do. We got the George Floyd Act, and we got the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. These are two. They're going to have to decide if they want to do this filibuster. The Senate is not going to put these things through. So they're going to have to put some of their capital on one of these. And which one is more important? I think the Voting Act is more important, because if we can't vote, we can't, all this stuff we're talking about, you can't do. If you can't vote, if they block us out from voting, then we can't put our people in. So America's at a crossroad. But I hope Biden don't sit on his hands like Obama. Obama had the House, the Senate, and the White House, and he wanted to play nice. It's no playing. You can't. I don't know what they got to do. You can't play nice with these people.
That's why the Republicans tend to win, because they come to win. Losing is not an option. It's a takeover. That's what it is. Get down or lay down, even to the extent of embracing a Donald Trump. Today, they still embracing this cat.
Yeah. But that's what they do. And we always want to, let's see what the other side do. Listen, Joe Biden is old. He's not getting a second term. Why not go down in history and actually give us our civil rights bill? Give us our George Floyd Act. Give us our vote. He can't make, I don't even think he's going to make it through. He's falling down up the stairs, all kind of stuff. let's just get everything that we need to get in so you can take care of the Black and brown community of over 400 years of slavery. We deserve to get the foot off our neck, finally.
Do you see Donald Trump getting any charges levied against him?
No, absolutely not. The only one is my girl, Attorney General in New York, Tish James. She's going to stick one up inside of him. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be something where he's going to be going to jail. You know, that guy's powerful.
He can run again.
Yeah. He's going to run again. But I don't think he has a chance in hell in winning. It's not. I don't think he'll ever win again.
Did you think this last election would be this close?
Yeah, I definitely thought. But that guy, listen, they love him. He's like the Messiah. They love him. But as long as we get, the only way he could win if they keep suppressing our vote. That's why that voting act is so important. That John Lewis voting act. If they don't pass it, yeah, he runs. He's gonna get in. They're scared of him. Man, that guy's like Jim Jones. He's Jim Jones all over. If he tell him to drink the Kool-Aid, he got people dead all over the place. I promise you. I don't know. He went from this TV superstar to a dictator, basically a dictator. And it's sad to see all the Black and brown people that voted for him and believed in him.
Could you believe it? Old and young.
Well, you do know, Mr. Glover, that you have field and house Negroes, so you know it's the ones in the house. That's what they are. It is what it is. You can't change it.
Well, how do we? You have some young people in New York City running for city council, and I've seen you know the names much better than I. But what is the hope for these young Black politicians? Because some of the older ones have not served us well. They seemingly, and not just political leaders, but leaders have served themselves.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of them has been very selfish. But you talking about these young. I have to plug my little guy, James Johnson. He's running for Queens and city council. He's about 25, 26 years old.
We'd like to bring him on the show.
Okay, we'll bring him on. That's easy one. That's easy. He's a phenomenal, very educated, intelligent young guy. He went to HBCU. He's going to do some big things. But see, I'm very optimistic about the future with the young people. Like, because when I look at like the millennials, like, white are marrying black, like they don't see all of this stuff that they're just different. And I do think, like, for my kids and grandkids, there's going to be hope for a future for a better America. We're still going through this stuff now, but we got to have hope. If we don't have hope, we don't have anything else. And I think that, like, things have changed. Like, you look at all of these George Floyd protests and stuff, it was more white people on those protest lines than Black people. Like, they're starting to get it, but it's pockets, it's pockets, it's pockets. You still have strangleholds where, like, some people, they just not going to get it. But because of technology, because things have changed, when we was young, it's like, get your high school diploma, get a city job, you made it. Now we're telling our kids to go get a PhD. So things have changed. And so I'm very optimistic, especially with the young people. I think it's going to be, I think we got a good future ahead. And once we get rid of this dictator, some kind of way, get rid of him.
Well, see, he's the head. He's the head on a much larger body. And we got to get back to the band. I got to ask you one more about the band, but our country's in trouble, and I'm really concerned. I see, the mass shootings, dude, Mr. Pegues, mass shootings. Oh, he had a bad day. You shot up 30 people. Oh, Mr. Pegues, he had a bad day. But let Donnie show up 125th Street, North Avenue here in Baltimore, shoot up some people. Oh, lock his hind parts up now.
Yeah.
Nobody has been traumatized more than Black people in America. Nobody has more of a reason to use mental anguish, mental illness as an excuse than Black people.
Right.
But the other community, he shot 8 Asians. Number one, He did not have a bad day. Number two, that was a hate crime.
Yeah.
Why do the rule? You say you're optimistic. Reality keeps telling me they gonna skate. We going to prison, they gonna skate. We smoke cigarettes illegal, we going to jail, they gonna skate.
Well, you know, again, so the criminal justice system is skewed toward us all the time. I mean, all you gotta look is Dylan Rolfe. He shot those people in a church in South Carolina, and they took him to Burger King. They took him to Burger King to get something to eat.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but so that your audience know, that's actually not unusual, but it's very unusual when you know he killed 8 people. It's like we'll take you to Burger King when we had a shooting, you're a suspect, and we don't know it's you, so we trying to like bring you in. We knew he killed 8 people. I don't know why the hell he went to Burger King, but that's a whole nother story. But this is what they do. White is right. White is right and black is blight. That's what the criminal justice system is and policing. That's what they do all the time. So until we put people in, so just think about this. You get a Donald Trump, that's why your vote is so important. Donald Trump is the president. He doesn't have your best interest. You know he's going to make attorney general? Jeff Sessions. So if you don't vote and vote for the right people, somebody that have your agenda or your same thought process, even be in the neighborhood of your thought process, you're going to end up with a Donald Trump and a Jeff Sessions that doesn't care about your community. That's why it's important and imperative for black and brown people to go out and vote. But not only vote, be an educated voter. At least know, I'm not telling you to do like me and you, like we all entrenched in it, but know a little something. But I can't employ enough. Politics is the local level. It's your judges. It's your council member. It's your sanitation. It's you got to get out and vote. Most people just vote for president. I'm voting all over the place. So
let me say here in the city of Baltimore, if you have any issues with City Hall, you can call 410-396-3100. Any issues with Annapolis, call your state elected officials, 410-841-3000. Those are phone numbers we should know, like we know our Instagram hookup. We should know how to get in touch with anybody in the city, anybody in the state. So, Mr. Pegues, let's wrap up with this menthol potential ban, the flavored cigarettes potential ban, its impact on the black community, and what we can do.
Well, one of the things we can do is spread the word. That's the biggest impediment to this whole ban, is spreading the word. We got to get the word out. So the biggest audiences in America is on Sundays at churches, sometimes Saturdays, Jehovah's Witness or what have you. We have to start spreading the word and let everybody know that there's a ban coming and know the unintended consequences, and we need to ask our politicians, why are we doing it? Why you're targeting one small segment of the community? And I believe Baltimore has legalized marijuana, right?
Not yet.
But it's on
the state's attorney stated months ago that she's not prosecuting low-level charges.
Right.
What we need is blacks involved in that, in the, the manufacturing, the procurement, the business part. We smoked the weed, we got locked up for the weed, but we are not first in line to be selling weed legally.
But that's why we need to reach out to people like my boy in Denver, Art Way, black guy. I work with him from time to time. He's very well versed. Denver was like the first place to legalize marijuana. So we need to get people together, have him come and talk here, show you what the process is, how to get in, what you need to get in, how we need to do it. I went to Denver to speak at the marijuana convention a couple of years. They flew me down. I know one of my leaders, Neil Franklin. He's big from Baltimore. He was executive director of Levied, which I'm a national speaker for. And so I went down and I thought it was going to be weed everywhere. It's not. Like, it's confined into the stores, but the stores don't look like us, like you said. And the only way that we're in is maybe working behind a counter. We don't want to work behind a counter.
It's like, what, $10 million to get a dispensary, or and it's a lot to growing it in turn, especially hazmat suits, the safety, the health. I mean, it's a lot.
So, but we have to demand that if you legalize, so this is where the politicians got to demand that if you legalize it, some of that revenue, a lot of that revenue has to go back into the communities that was impacted, and not only doing potholes, fixing potholes in schools, but training them up and helping them get into the business where it's going to be lucrative. That is the key, because we don't want to just legalize, and now big companies are just putting dispensaries all in our community, because then we're back again to the same thing. We're low on the totem pole. We need to have a place in it. But this menthol ban, I'm pretty confident that it's not going to pass out there in Baltimore. We'll see. We've been working hard out there, spreading the word to the key people in the community. So I implore everybody to reach out to their local politicians, everybody that's going to be voting, and voice your concern. If you believe in the ban, fine, you believe in it. But if you don't, and you have a Black and brown child, there will be some unintended consequences, I promise you. And we don't want another Eric Garner. We don't want another Eric Garner. We don't want another Sandra Bland. We don't want another George Floyd. We don't want no more contact with policing unless they're necessary contact. So for me, you know what I would like to see with policing? I would like to see policing just dealing with crime, like rape, robbery, murder, like the war on drugs. We've been doing it since the Reagan era. What are we doing today? The war on drugs. It ain't working. You can't keep locking somebody up and think you're going to stop the,
A friend of mine's there in Harlem, and they formed a community group. So upset when I last talked to her. She said within 4 square blocks, they have a number of methadone centers, treatment centers, and homeless shelters. All within the same. And so one group is handing out needles, and another group is being paid to pick up needles.
Yeah.
And here in Baltimore, I live where Freddie Gray was killed.
Right.
But interestingly, in this 99.9% Black community, we have a long stream of white opioid addicts. In the streets, we call them dope fiends, but it's a day and time, like you said, they are opioid addicts.
Yeah, and America is supposed to be the most developed neighbor country in America, but we're so far back with this whole drug thing. Amsterdam, obviously, they've been legalized marijuana for over 35 years. Canada just opened up a safe space in Canada. Like if you want to shoot heroin, you come over here, we're going to allow you to shoot, but we're going to give you some clean needles, let you shoot your heroin right in this safe space, because they got doctors in there, they got counselors in there, they're trying to help people wean off. But you're not going to take your kid to the park and see a dirty needle in the park. And that's happening all over the country. I mean, the world, except for America. We need to come on board. As a spokesman for LEAP, Law Enforcement Action Partnership, our position is legalize all drugs, legalize them and regulate them. Legalize them and regulate them. I would rather go to CVS to buy some heroin than to go around a corner and get it. But if I'm buying it from CVS, it's going to be through the FDA. It's not going to be a lot. You probably get a hit, but you're not going to be the dope fiend leaning over. They did it with alcohol. The biggest drug in America is alcohol. I stand on that. They legalize it. They're making billions of dollars off of it, but they don't want to legalize anything else. It
is the biggest drug, and it's readily available almost 24 hours a day.
24. And if you can't find one in New York City at 5 in the morning, you call me. I promise you I'll find you a bottle of Hennessy. It even still has an underground. Even with it being legalized, there's always an underground. But for the most part, it's legalized. And
that's what's going to happen if cigarettes, menthols in particular, if they ban Newports. I can only imagine Baltimore going to go buck wild crazy if they ban Newports. They already didn't jump the price. They $11 a pack. But here's the other thing. The money, they always promise this money. The money doesn't go to what they say. The lottery, money for education, lies.
That's why you gotta read the fine print of these bills when they're writing these bills up. But that's why, more importantly, you gotta elect people like Eric Adams around the country that's going to do the right thing and protect the people and make sure that we have a harmonious relationship with everybody, and everybody is treated the same way, and no one is treated differently than anybody else.
Okay, I got it. So look, a couple minutes. How can people get your book? How can people get in touch with you?
Yes, people could get my book. You could just go to Amazon, type in "Once a Cop," and it'll show up, Corey Pegues. Follow me on Twitter, C Pegues. You can follow me on Instagram. Everything is like C Pegues. And on Facebook, it's my name, Corey Pegues. And be on the lookout. I have a feature film that's gonna ready to be coming out in movie theaters, hopefully by like September, October, called A Cops and Robbers Story. And if you want to know some stuff about me right now, you could just go to theguardian.com. There's a 20-minute snippet from my upcoming documentary. It's called Cops and Robbers on theguardian.com. It's a 20-minute piece. You can look at it and you can see my story, and it'll wow you. And again, my story is of a misguided young man that made some really bad mistakes, but picked himself up from the bootstraps to become a successful American law-abiding citizen.
So we're going to see you doing some webinars on some master classes on how to sell a book.
You're going to see me everywhere. And listen, cross your fingers. I got some really big things coming up. And Mr. Glover, you know, I will be contacting you so you could get the exclusive. If my publicist, hey, my publicist resides out there, actually. My publicist resides over in the DMV. Yeah.
Who is it?
Her name is Mocha Ochoa. Yeah, she's from the DMV. She's a big book publicist, and she just handles all of my business. She actually just started a big show called a Lit Lounge with Washington, D.C. Library. Her first show, I think, she just interviewed Beverly Johnson. She got a big tribute to Cicely Tyson. Viola Davis was involved. A bunch of high profile.
Why are they going after your governor?
Well, listen, for the life of me, I can't believe it, because from last I found out, he's a single man. So I don't even understand what all these problems is. Now, obviously, if he touched somebody, I don't condone that at all. I have daughters. It's not happening. But you know, one of these things, and I don't want women to be mad at me, but all of a sudden they come out the woodwork for like 12, 15, 18 years. I don't understand it. Like, if somebody grabbed you today, you need to be telling them now, like, no, you don't touch me. You know, now I don't understand this.
What I didn't understand about Bill Cosby, they were some of the ugliest women I've ever seen. Camille is a dime. She's a quarter. And you went off the reservation for that?
Oh, Mr. Glover, you're fun. You sure you don't have a comedy show too?
It was butt ugly.
Yeah,
so we got a band, Menthols, here in the state of Maryland. This is only your first time. We got to bring you back on here. And Deborah Borley, and you got some new fans here, man.
Oh, well, thanks. I really appreciate it. Listen, follow me. I just got to say really quick, you know, I just had this incident in my school, a national incident where my daughter goes to. There was a headmaster at the school. It's a private school. He made a young black boy, 11 years old, bend down and apologize to a white teacher. So I've been on the forefront of that for the past week. We've been protesting to get rid of him, and we got rid of him yesterday. He put in his resignation, and they also got rid of the word headmaster from the school, because that's one of the things I was thinking about. But more importantly, they just made a new principal, and she's a black woman. Feet to the ground works. It works. I live in it.
Yeah, I called you to catch you in the middle of a protest. Yeah, that warmed my soul.
Yeah, when you called me yesterday, I was on the picking line. Exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Pegues, it's been truly a pleasure. You have some new friends. We have some new friends. And we look forward to bringing you back on here. Deborah Borley, apparently, you better pull her up. She's a big fan.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. Listen, we all, I'm just trying to spread my message and trying to bridge that gap between the black and brown community and police all over. I'm not trying to bridge it between the Asian community, the white community. None of them have problems with the police. It's the black and brown community. and we need to bridge that gap. And I want to be on the forefront of it. But I thank you very much for allowing me to come on your platform and speak openly about some issues that's very close to my heart. Thank you, Mr.
Who is that behind you? The picture. Is that the first black cop?
That's me. Once a cop.
Oh, that's you. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing some renovation in my basement, so like I'm in this corner, stuff is thrown all around, but it's gonna look nice when I'm done.
We can't tell. It looks great now. Thank you for your time, Mr. Pegues. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Black USA Morning Show. We'll be back at 7 p.m. for Black Lawyers Roundtable. This is Donnie Glover. Until next time.